community, our hometown. This is Kearney Live on 102.7 FM, our hometown radio station. Kearney Live is presented by Kearney Trust, 310 West 92 Highway in Kearney, 816-628-6666. And now here's the hosts of Kearney Live, Mike Davis and Jim Dickerson.
Nothing beats a round of applause when you sit down to your job. Who gets that?
That's right.
I do. That's who. I'm your host, Mike Davis. You are watching or listening to Kearney Live, and it couldn't happen without Brian Watts, the producer, engineer, general manager of 102.7 FM KMO-TV. What else do we have? We
KPGZ,
Bulldog Radio Network. It goes on and on. This man is, he's a jack of many trades.
I'm glad you finished that. When you said Jack, I was picturing you going someplace totally different there.
And I also would like to welcome, for 2 straight weeks in a row, my good friend and co-host, Jim Dickerson.
You make it sound like it's an accomplishment that I've been here 2 weeks in a row. I mean,
that was the intent. And I guess
I
I communicated properly that we have not been seeing a lot of you, but that's because Jim's a pilot. He's also, Jim is our the corporate pilot of 102.7 FM. In case you didn't know that, yes, we have a DC.
So you're saying we have our own plane?
Yes, it's a DC-3. We have it. It's parked out here in the parking lot. It's an old, very old aircraft, and not exactly airworthy. But it's sitting in the parking lot, in case you wondered. Jim flew it in this morning.
So if it's not airworthy, how'd I fly it in?
Well, it doesn't matter to you. I'm just saying.
Before you...
You know why, and it doesn't matter. Listen, there are plenty of airplanes out there that are not airworthy that are flying around. That one's one, I know. Jim, you're just not having any fun with this, I can tell. I'll tell you what is fun, is we've got Josh Hurlbert with us today. Yes. We're going to go to somebody that's got a smile on his face, not a frown like Jim does. And Josh, you, sir, are the 12th District Missouri State Representative, right? I looked at here, and I didn't have it written down here. I just happened to remember it, which is really odd at my advancing age. But good to see you here.
Absolutely. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
It is our pleasure, as always, and we're going to get back to you. Jim has a couple of things I know that he'd like to bring up, and I think there's one other little item before, maybe I just get to this and get it out of the way, Jim. Brian handed me his phone, and he said, Jennifer Grossel, who is with PCEC, Platte Clay Electric Cooperative, she said today, and right? No doubt about it. It is a fuel-up food truck Wednesday, just chillin'. That's what it says here. Sweets and treats. Now that gets my attention. Sponsored by Platte Clay Electric Cooperative, and the details are this: come and visit Just Chillin' Sweets and Treats food truck at the Kearney Platte Clay Fuel Station on Wednesday, June 16th. The truck will be there from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Good grief, they're going to serve dinner. I mean, I wonder what's on that truck. Various menu items available for purchase, including old-fashioned homemade ice cream, and I hope that means that it's not melted.
Well, ice cream. Let's go check it out.
That's good enough for me. And
why are we on the air still?
I would exactly. I could eat ice cream for lunch. I could eat it 3 times a day. Anyway, thank you for that, Jennifer Grossel, and thanks to Platte Clay Electric. I can't believe we ever get through. Platte Clay Electric Cooperative for being a sponsor, and wonderful folks, and who take care of the power in your area. You better believe it. Jim, what can I do for you, buddy?
Well,
what can you do for us, more importantly?
Here's what I can do for you. There's a lot of talk about what's coming up on Friday over at the Splash Pad. I know everybody's waiting for it. So the invitation is still on. Mayor Pogue is going to get to the splash pad, and he's going to be the first one to get splashed in his tuxedo. It has been given to me by documentation that he is going to be wearing a purple tuxedo with a purple ruffle, white bow tie, white shoes, and he will be sitting under the splash pad bucket.
Right.
And that's at 9:30 on Friday morning. Isn't that correct, Brian? Everything I said is correct.
Well, almost. It's speculatory, I guess. But 9:30 is the ribbon cutting.
9:30, is that the speculation? It might be
No, that's the only thing
9:31?
you got correct.
Oh,
So,
It's like, how is that any different from any other day?
so
But I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Yes, and then I will. So the original agreement was I would pay for his dry cleaning if he got under the bucket in a suit, and so then I would make an additional donation to the splash pad if he wore his tuxedo. So if the splash pad is excited about that additional donation, you should be as soon as Randy shows up in his tuxedo. I'm excited about that. That's Friday, the 19th at 9:30 a.m.
That will be a lot of
And,
fun.
yeah.
We're going to be there,
Yep.
and we'll have some cameras, and there will be pictures. There will be motion pictures.
Yeah, I was going to say, and
Yes.
video.
Yeah,
So we've got
yeah.
that to look forward to.
No doubt about
And,
that.
I think that's all I've got on that. Do I have anything else?
I don't think so.
I don't
It is
usually
good.
they give me a big box
I
of
know.
notes, and I don't have anything
And you
here,
do it
so
so
I'm good.
well.
Feel good about it.
Well, I feel good about having you here. Good seeing you, Jim, as always. Josh Hurlbert, anything else, Brian? I thought you were heading for your mic. I thought you were headed that way. All right. Yep. Gotcha. Welcome again, Josh. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate what you're doing. You're a public servant, right?
Try to be.
I mean, that's really why you got into politics.
Absolutely it is.
And, I mean, what other reason? Why would somebody get into politics other than to serve the public?
Not this job.
Right?
So, I mean, for me personally, I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old that turns 3 next week. So that's, having a Northland that's open and safe and thriving for them is why I'm down there and why I serve down there.
Well, I sort of set you up to say, well, there are some self-serving politicians out there,
Can't name names on the air.
Nope. But and maybe not in the state of Missouri. I don't know. Maybe there are, but that will be for our audience to find out on their own. In any case, it's great. I think we got a terrific governor. I think the state of Missouri is a wonderful place to have a business. I think we've got good, solid people living in the state of Missouri. I am proud to live here. Proud to be here.
Absolutely, and I'm proud to be born and raised here. Grew up in Kearney myself. Live in Smithville now because I married a Platte City girl, so we had to split the difference
There you
somehow.
go.
But I mean, having the folks that are up here in the Northland, that's the future of the whole metro area.
Yeah.
I mean, the Northland is going to be what drives us. The Northland is going to be where our future is. I mean, shoot, we've got over just south of Smithville, we've got a $6 billion data center going in.
Right.
I mean, all the improvements, all the growth that we're seeing up here in the Northland, we've got 45,000 people have moved into the Northland over the past 10 years.
Isn't that something?
It is nuts just how fast we're growing up here.
Okay, Ken Wilson was the 12th district representative, and now you've taken his seat, which is great.
Yep, absolutely.
What are you hearing from the constituency? Effective what? In January, you're inaugurated, I guess.
Yep, absolutely. Sworn in January 3rd.
Okay, very cool. And then, so are people? Is your phone ringing off the hook? Or are people saying, "Hey, fix this"? What are you hearing?
You always hear a lot of stuff. I mean, recently it's been all about the whole KCPD defunding that we've had. I have the responsibility of serving 7,000 KCMO voters that reside in the 12th House district up in the Nashua area, and that the move that the mayor and the city council made there. The week after we got out of session, so that there was nothing the legislature could do that way. It's reckless, it's dangerous, and it's an unprecedented power grab by the mayor. So that puts people up here in the Northland at risk. So I'm glad that we have a court fight already started. I'm glad that we have an injunction in place right now holding that funding there for the police department. But it's something that we're going to be going through the entire year. Probably fighting this fight, and then I am one. Doug Ritchie, who also represents Kearney, is signed on as well. But we've asked for a special session to try and deal with this legislatively as well. So I imagine we're probably going to have a special session the week before July 4th because we've got some Medicaid reimbursement issues we've got to handle as well. So we're hoping that we can get the police issues for both Kansas City and St. Louis.
I was going to ask
some as well.
Yeah, I thought St. Louis got in that act as well.
They have, not to the extent that KCMO has, but they have absolutely been in that same act that way. But we're hoping we can tackle some of this legislatively as well.
You know, and one of the things that Sheriff Aiken was in here last week, and he talked about there's a lot of people who are in Liberty, Smithville, Kearney, and that sort of thing who feel like, well, I'm glad I don't live in Kansas City. This doesn't affect me, but in reality, it does quite a bit because the resources that are north are now having to fall south, and when Kansas City is pulled all south, and when I talk about Kansas City, I'm talking about police in this matter, they're pulled all south, then Liberty, Smithville, all those places have to kick in to help. So it affects everybody.
Absolutely. It becomes a domino effect throughout the entire county. I mean, yes, I represent 7,000 KCMO voters, but, you know, it's not just KCMO that's going to be affected by this. Like you were saying, it's absolutely true. It's the Clay County Sheriff. It's all the mutual assist agencies here in Clay County that would also be affected, and all the same boat in Platte County.
So we talked a little bit about this before the show started, but there was about a year ago, you had this little push to, they talked about the Northland breaking away and starting their own, annexing their own thing. Now that's interesting to talk about, but it's very, and I know you've got some more insight into that, but the interesting thing that's happened, it actually happened in Atlanta, is there is a city that wanted to do the same thing, or I'm sorry, a part of the city of Atlanta that wanted to do the same thing, but now they've figured out how to do it. And now you have the blueprint out there. People are going to start to go, okay, well, now it becomes what was originally just kind of a fantasy now becomes almost a reality because now you know how to do it. What have you guys heard about that? And I know you were talking about once this happens, then that, but what's the discussion at the state level kind of outside this area here?
Sure. In reality, state law doesn't allow a city to, or a portion of a city to de-annex once they've been annexed in for 3 years. So obviously, the Northland's been a part of KCMO for much longer than that. So right now, there's no legal avenue for them to go for de-annexation. So that's where folks like me would have to pick up the ball and, you know, push for legislation that can actually authorize that de-annexation. I mean, the people here in the Northland, they have a gripe. I mean, they can't even get regular trash pickup too often here in KCMO north of the river. I mean, some of those basic fundamental tenets of good government just don't happen up here north of the river. So we're a very different community up here. We have a different outlook on life, as evidenced by this whole police debate. All four, it's a bipartisan group. I mean, 3 Democrats and 1 Republican that are on the city council from north of the river, and they all voted no on this defunding of our Kansas City police. So it is a Northland versus south of the river issue right now.
And I think the demographics are a little different now than they were even, say, 10, 12 years ago, because now you have a very large words are hard, contingent of the population that live up north. Mm-hmm. You're looking at what maybe, I don't know, let's go 15 years ago was maybe, I don't know, what, 30% or something. Now you're up pushing 50, I think. So half of your Kansas City population lives up north. Mm-hmm. And there's a significant revenue bump with all the businesses that have come in up north. So I would think the change is, and it seems weird to me that there's only 4 representatives for the city council that are up north. Is there some change coming on how we divide these districts? Yeah,
every 10 years, just like we do at the state level or congressional level, they redistrict their city council districts as well. So I was a little disappointed to see the Kansas City Star a couple weeks ago put out there how they would like to see the Northland delegation, gerrymandered out of power even more. That they would like to see, more south of the river representation and just not even count our votes up here north of the river almost. So it is something
How does it feel to be unwanted?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and you wonder why we have all this talk about de-annexation now.
Yes.
So,
and it would be different if only 10% of the money or 10% of the population lived up here, but you're at half.
Yeah.
You're at 50%. Mm-hmm. And revenue-wise, I think you're still at 50. And if it weren't for downtown, with all the businesses there,
Sure.
it would even be, that sways it just a little bit. And by the way, downtown is very close to the river, very close. It happens to sit on the river, I think.
Well, I mean, all those, a lot of those spots downtown along in the plaza and Ward Parkway, I mean, that area has all been tiffed as well significantly as well.
Right.
So, I mean, the city council in all their wisdom have decided to take that, mode of trying to fund things and encourage growth, which is fine until you decide, now that the Northland is fed up and is looking to perhaps break apart, that now you don't have the Northland as your breadbasket anymore.
I would suggest, too, that part of the reason that we see growth in towns like Smithville and Kearney is exactly what we're talking about here.
Yes.
There are people from the Northland who are, fed up. And there's an alternative, and there are a number of them here north of the river. Kearney, Missouri happens to be one of them.
Yep.
And so these are things that, listen, we have the ability to affect change as individuals. But I quite honestly, this is the most I have heard of this de-annexation attempt here this morning. I don't hear much about it. Is there any reason for that?
Well, again, because it's
besides the fact that I'm not paying attention.
well, again, it's
there's that.
When you have when it's not even currently available right now, that we have it's not. You can't do it anyway. We have
right.
we'd have to pass state law, and we all know how much of a fight that can be down in Jeff City. So,
right.
Passing some sort of change in statute to do so is always a long haul hard.
We're listening today. Actually, we're watching, you're listening, and you're watching. Josh Hurlbert, he's the 12th District Representative, state of Missouri, your state, the wonderful state of Missouri. You're listening and watching Kearney Live. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Corporate underwriters of KPGZ programming include these fine businesses.
Simplify your banking, simplify your life. It's easy with Kearney Trust Company. The world has become fast-paced, and we understand that you are busy. That's why we offer a banking experience that's as simple and stress-free as can be. Kearney Trust goes beyond convenient locations and good customer care to offer banking services that make managing your finances quicker and easier than ever before. Online, bill pay, e-statements, and mobile banking are available to give you a positive banking experience so you can get back to your life and activities. Kearney Trust also provides capital to people and businesses so they can achieve their goals. Whether you know exactly what you want or just need someone to talk to about your dream, you can speak with them and work on that dream. You may just be getting off the ground or ready to move into your brick and mortar building. Kearney Trust will provide you and your business with the resources you need to succeed. Kearney Trust Company is your partner for success with 2 convenient locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper. The phone is 816-628-6666. Kearney Trust Company. Banking you can trust. Member FDIC.
Yeah. Welcome back to Kearney Live. And thank you to our sponsor for Kearney Trust Company. I was just thinking where I was and who our sponsor is, and they're 2 different places. Anyway, thank you so much to Kearney Trust, who has been with us from the get-go. Terrific people, and they believed in us when we started this show. And boy, that was a leap of faith, let me tell you.
But they're probably sitting there every day going,
I know.
Should we?
We're writing checks for this.
Decision?
Right. Good money. I also wanted to welcome Gunnar Trammell with us today. He is sitting in the studio with us. He is our intern for the month, I guess, right, Brian? And he will be a sophomore at Kearney High School, and we are so pleased to have him here. And he's been doing a little bit of work for Brian inside the studio. He's picking up. The guy is actually interested in radio and broadcasting. Imagine that. I think somebody told him he could actually make real money at it, and
so
he's been fooled.
I have a question. I thought the intern of the month was a joke. I didn't. He's really only here for a month.
You stay as long as you want. We're
Just
not
just a
paying.
month.
Shows you how much I know about what's going on.
He
around
doesn't
here.
eat much either. So, but I think he
that's
also
good.
found out we don't have any food
I
in
was
here.
going to say
So,
we
yeah.
can't afford food.
Well,
What are you talking
Gunnar,
about?
thank you. Welcome, by the way. We'd put you on the air here, but there's no camera pointed your direction. But trust me.
Actually, there kind of is.
Yeah.
If you go to Brian's camera,
Well,
go to
that's-
Brian's camera.
Yeah.
No,
That's
my
not Brian.
camera. Oh, sit down. Sit.
Okay.
Stay. Oh, you're not on. I thought you were in the picture.
No, we fixed that.
So again,
it
shows you how much Jim knows what's going on around here.
Well, we are back. We're visiting today with Josh Hurlbert. He is the 12th District, the Northland representative for the state of Missouri for all of you Northlanders. In fact, I think it goes, how's it go? I was reading these off a minute ago. Clay and Platte counties, including the towns of Camden Point, Kearney, Platte City, Ridgely, and Smithville in the Missouri House of Representatives, and you were elected to your first two-year term this past November 2020. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was a good campaign, good fight to earn the seat and earn the voters' trust, and had a good session down there. It was a little interesting. We started, of course, it was COVID, so most of the members there were masked up, and we actually lost a week because of a COVID outbreak in the House.
Oh, boy.
So we weren't even sure we were going to finish the session, but to get as much as we got accomplished down there and get everything that we were able to get passed through, it was a very busy and a very successful session down there.
I don't want to dwell on this, but I do have a question because it came up during the break. The issue with the funding of the police department, and then you have, and this is like totally off the rails, which is nothing unusual for me, so I feel good about it. The e-tax came up, and there was a big debate about, they don't use the e-tax for what it was meant for anyway. You shouldn't vote for it. So everybody voted for, well, I say everybody, a large contingent of people voted for it.
I voted against it.
I voted
as
against
a Kansas
it.
City resident. Yep.
Because I was afraid this was going to happen. The e-tax, it was advertised as they were going to use it for law enforcement and EMS and fire and all that. And now all of a sudden, look at what's going on. In that lawsuit that is, and I know you can't talk specifics, but again, is there any recourse when you bill something as this is what we're going to spend the money for, and then you don't?
It's all up to who's elected to manage those funds. The city council themselves are. That's who you can hold accountable, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
I'm out.
No, I understand. Specific to a couple of House bills, there's one that I think a lot of people would be interested in, particularly folks north of the river here, and that is House Bill 85. It was the Missouri Second Amendment bill, and the governor has signed that, correct?
Yeah, he was down in Lee Summit at Frontier Justice on
Right, there
Saturday.
you go.
And
Yeah, great shooting range down there in Lee Summit, you bet. Talk about that bill.
Sure, yeah. It was an honor to be there behind the governor as he signed it there on Saturday. What that bill does is that any federal law that is not already in state law when it comes to firearms, you cannot use Missouri, local officials, our Department of Revenue. You can't use any of Missouri's resources to enforce federal firearms laws. So if the feds decide to impose an ammo tax, well, that's fine, but they can't use the Missouri Department of Revenue to collect it. If they decide to do a gun seizure program, well, that's fine, but you cannot use Missouri local police, our state highway patrol, any Missouri resources to do it. The feds can still come in with U.S. Marshals and impose anything any enforce any federal laws that way, but they can't use our resources. It's a lot similar to states that have passed medical marijuana, like Missouri has, or even recreational marijuana. Obviously, it's still banned at the federal level, but the feds aren't interested in sending in U.S. Marshals to raid every marijuana facility in these states. So
right. Well, I followed this. In fact, I was on an email thread from a couple of guys. Right now, the guy's name escapes me, but you'd probably recognize it. But on the House Bill 85, in effect, this is about the Second Amendment. If the Second Amendment is being challenged by the current administration, then you cannot use our resources in the great state of Missouri to enforce any of that nonsense. It is the Second Amendment of our Constitution of this republic, a very, very important part of our republic and of defending it.
Well, and again, we're not given that right by the Constitution. The Constitution is there to prevent the federal government from usurping those rights. So the states are there as a safe or a fail-safe on the federal government. The federal government starts to impose their rules onto the people, then the states have to take action to protect the rights that the feds aren't necessarily doing. So I was proud to support the bill multiple times. It came up through my General Laws Committee, went to the House floor, then went back to the Senate, and then back over here after a couple changes. So.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Jim.
I'm amused and amazed, and I don't know why, but about how many people they and I try to read less and less of this because it's just I can't. How many people blurt out this stuff? We need to do this and do that, and you're like, we already do that, but they just don't understand the laws that are in effect, or as we've talked on previous shows, well, they should have done this and you should have done that. And you're like, okay, that's illegal. You can't do that. My favorite I told you about, I think it was last week. Well, they should have just shot in the air.
Right, exactly.
And
that's laughable.
We all the time on the 4th of July and New Year's, we say, don't shoot in the air. And then this person, see the way I censored myself there?
It doesn't happen often, but nicely done, yeah.
But there's a license thing in effect there. But they're like, well, they should have just shot in the air. But beyond that, there's so many people, because as it relates to this bill you were just talking about, there's people that lost their ever-loving minds over this thing. And then when you read what they wrote, I'm like, okay, that has nothing to do with the bill, or that's already being done, or whatever.
Well, they say more background checks. Well, there's a background check that we've had for I don't know how long, and you can't go to your favorite gun store or big box sports store and try to buy a gun today without an FBI background check.
I'm going to tell you
it won't happen.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to tell you what the problem is. The problem is we don't enforce the stuff we have.
Right.
Yeah. So if you don't enforce the laws you have, making more laws is not going to help you in any way. And if you don't believe me, go look at what's going on in San Francisco right now, as they have people just taking stuff out of a store and the police just stand there and watch them walk out. Now, as a store owner, you're standing there going, there goes my stuff. And as a patron, if you don't think it affects you, every time someone shoplifts from Home Depot, Walmart, Target, wherever the case may be, and they walk out, that person may have got walked off with $200 worth of stuff. Who do you think pays for that? Every time you go in there and you pay more for whatever, you're paying for it. So and if you don't understand that, I can't help you anyway. It's good to have you on the program.
It is. Well, listen.
I'm trying not to go on a tirade, but
I think there are many of us who are we are sick and tired of having this sort of anti-government, anti-republic, anti-U.S. sentiment sort of forced down our throats. I mean, a week or so ago, we had a person on the air that was offended by American flags being flown during national holidays, and that there were far too many. And
just to clarify, not on our air,
not on our
another
air,
program on another network.
And
I think that's the way we're supposed to
you talk about off the rails, Jim, and I don't know how you can live in the greatest country on earth that people are illegally finding their way into, and people who want to come to our country and do it the right way and take all the tests and who are pleased to be naturalized U.S. citizens, because it is the best place, the best country in the world. People are craving to be a part of it. So, there's a reason we stand up and fly the flag, and there's a reason we're proud of our republic. So, it's that sort of sentiment, Jim, that gets us worked up at times like this. We're just tired of it being forced down our throats.
So that brings up another question. We know at the national level, Brian, why are you laughing? At the national level, we know what's going on. How much of that are you guys seeing at the state level? So, and let me rephrase it and ask it this way. In the national level, if there's a topic that comes up or a bill or whatever, 99% of the time it's right down party lines, which tells me one major thing. You're not reading the bill. You're not reading what the ordinance is or whatever you're voting on, because if you didn't know who sponsored the bill, everybody would have their own opinion, and it would be all, it'd be all over. When it goes right down party lines, you're basically saying, I don't care what this thing says, I'm voting against it or for it because of, and that's not the way government was supposed to be. I ask at the state level, are you guys seeing the same thing, or is it a totally different dynamic?
Given my background both on the federal and now on the state level of government, it was interesting coming into state government and seeing that, for example, there's actually people in the room when you give a speech on the House floor. I mean, on the U.S. side, it's all, no one's in the room, and maybe just a handful of staff or whatever, but you're just talking to C-SPAN because you want to have that clip to put on social media.
And you know what's worse? Before C-SPAN was invented, they literally were talking to an empty room. I mean, they did. If you were ever down, you can't go do it now, but it was hilarious. If you were on a tour or whatever, you walk in there and there's somebody and you're like, who are they talking to?
Right.
And they're talking about their bill to no. Well, somebody was taking the record, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Please,
so
digress.
on the state level, I mean, there's the room's mostly full. I mean, you have people out and about sometimes, but it's mostly full. There's a lot more give and take. You actually are inquiring of different members and having that debate that you don't have on the federal side. So you do have bills. We had a couple pretty noteworthy ones. The PDMP legislation that passed, and the SB 262, the federal gas, or not federal, but the gas tax legislation, both of which were not party line votes that passed. Other ones like the Second Amendment Preservation Act, that was pretty party line. But so you do have some of those, but you also have a lot more bills that are not on party line that are a lot closer that way. Another one that was super close was the school choice bill that we passed, one of the first bills we passed this year, just allowing kids in, lower income kids and trapped by their zip code to the school that's not doing very good, a chance to get out of that school system.
You mentioned when you worked at the federal level, you served as senior field representative for U.S. Congressman Sam Graves since 2009.
Yep.
So, what did that entail? I'm curious.
Sure. It started off as an internship that I didn't screw up too badly and turned into an 11-year full-time job. So it was a lot of getting out and being the eyes and ears for the congressman. He's stuck out in Washington much more than he would like to be. So we're attending meetings here, whether it's chamber meetings, Rotaries, EDCs, anything that we can to just kind of get feedback from folks back home and help them out when they had issues with federal agencies. Trying to get a passport rush because you didn't realize your passport was expired. That's something that we would do here in the local office. So I had one of the things I did was help. When it came to passports, we had a group of church kids that were in Central America when the pandemic shut down all the flights, and so just trying to get them home. So, there's a lot of different things that we would do on the in the congressional side.
As I say, real quickly, I just wanted to give a shout out to Josh Hawley, who is a senator from the state of Missouri, who I think has done a terrific job of representing our state. Absolutely. And made it very public. I think the wishes, generally speaking, of the folks of the state of Missouri. and very, very proud to watch Josh Hawley on C-SPAN or others. And he has been quite visible, though, I think, on a lot of national media, because I think he does stand up, and he stands in the face of the anti-American sentiment that we were talking about before. And God bless that man. I'm so happy to see him out there. Appreciate what he's doing for the state.
Yeah, CNN hates him, but
yep, exactly.
Their three viewers are anyway. So, what is one thing, if you're allowed to say, what's one thing that when you went to on the national level, when you were working with Sam Graves' office, that you saw that goes on within our government that you were just like, I had no idea? Because I know when I went out there a few times, there was a lot of times I was like, I had no idea. And one of them was the deal where people are standing there pitching a bill to nobody. I'm like, who are they talking to? And this was obviously before, well, C-SPAN was around, but we didn't know what it was. But was there anything?
You were watching MTV.
He's right.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses, little Michael Jackson video. Anyway, Brian's giving me that thing. Is there anything where you were like, I had no idea this was going on? And furthermore, you're like, if everybody knew this, anything? Well, not to put you on the spot.
Sure. I mean, the amount of stuck in an ivory tower mentality that you get from some of these agencies out in D.C. was always the most eye-opening. That, I mean, you would go into a meeting with them and they would tell you that they wouldn't, they don't care what your view was, because they will still be there when you leave office, and that they will just continue doing what they were doing. So, I mean, that mentality that, whatever we're thinking in our headquarters tower is better than what you're seeing in real life, working day to day, that was always the most eye-opening to me.
Yeah, it seems we're starting to see a little more and more I don't know if we're seeing it more or just being exposed to it more, that there's a clear disconnect within our elected officials of what they think and what reality is.
I think that's true, Jim. Social media has helped. That's one of the things that social media has helped much of the constituency. Many of us voters, people who actually vote, we get to see these things on a regular basis.
Well, and just to finish that thought, and I know we got to go to break, but social media has been horrible, but at the same time, it's been helpful.
True.
Because when you try when you think about, let's go back to Vietnam or the 70s or something, you only had 3 channels to listen to, and whatever they told you had to be true, and there was no way to convey. So now when something happens, man, no matter how much you try to censor it, it still leaks out somewhere and people hear about it.
I like it.
But that's a whole nother issue.
We are getting ready to take a break. We're visiting today with Josh Hurlbert, Missouri State Representative, and Josh was the 2012 Clay County Republican Man of the Year. Are you still the Man of the Year? Are you the Man of the Year around your household, or does that not even fly there?
Not in the slightest.
That's what I was thinking. Come back. You're listening to Kearney Live. We will be here. Stay tuned for these important messages.
Programming heard on KPGZ is being underwritten and supported by these local businesses.
Simplify your banking, simplify your life. It's easy with Kearney Trust Company. The world has become fast-paced, and we understand that you are busy. That's why we offer a banking experience that's as simple and stress-free as can be. Kearney Trust goes beyond convenient locations and good customer care to offer banking services that make managing your finances quicker and easier than ever before. Online, bill pay, e-statements, and mobile banking are available to give you a positive banking experience so you can get back to your life and activities. Kearney Trust also provides capital to people and businesses so they can achieve their goals. Whether you know exactly what you want or just need someone to talk to about your dream, you can speak with them and work on that dream. You may just be getting off the ground or ready to move into your brick and mortar building. Kearney Trust will provide you and your business with the resources you need to succeed. Kearney Trust Company is your partner for success with 2 convenient locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper. The phone is 816 888-628-6666. Kearney Trust Company. Banking you can trust. Member FDIC.
Jim Dickerson on air drums there. That was awesome. I like that. Thanks again to Kearney Trust Company for being the sponsor of this show. I did want to mention one other sponsor because I've had some recent engagements with Dr. Mark Strathman at Kearney Chiropractic and the Kearney Family Chiropractic, and they are also a sponsor, not of this particular show, but we could change that too. But in any case, they do a terrific job, and if it is let me just put it this way, I'm going to give my personal endorsement. If it's possible for me to do that, Brian, I'm not sure. Yeah, he's shaking his head. Yes, I didn't break any FCC rules here, but doesn't mean I haven't before. So we're visiting today. Josh Hurlbert is with us, and Missouri State Representative. Thank you for what you do, and we do appreciate it. Let's talk about anything that you think is important. If I know Jim was asking, are there things you want to push, that you want to press? There might be one or two things that are.
Well, you were talking about the one of the things you were talking about that there was some controversy over was the
gas tax. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it.
So what we passed.
I don't want to pay a gas tax.
I'm not sure anyone does. Right. No one does. So the Missouri legislature, we passed out a 12.5-cent increase spaced out over 5 years to the fuel tax, so both diesel and gasoline. The way I looked at it, I voted in favor of it because I looked at it as an investment in Missouri's roads and bridges that way, in our future growth. When you go and actually talk to people about what should government do, roads and bridges are the one thing people can generally agree on, that government should do that and do it well. That's about the one good thing government should be doing. How we fund that is through a tax on our fuel. That we had not had a fuel tax increase since 1996. And so the buying power of that, what was 17 cents back then, has shrunk to about 6 cents currently, just because we've had such a high inflation of concrete and steel and everything, the labor costs that comes to going into our roads and bridges. So
how glad are we that we don't build our bridges out of wood right now?
That would be $1 million project.
For a bridge is about 3 feet.
Covered bridges in Iowa. Yeah.
So, I mean, we talked about it. I mean, here in the Northland, we've grown 45,000 people over the past decade. I mean, we can't keep up the kind of infrastructure that we need to maintain that growth, to sustain that growth, without investing in our future that way. So I thought it was important to make this choice. I was also glad that we were able to pair it with a $380 million income tax cut as part of another bill to make sure that, we're not trying to make this a windfall either, that we're trying to, make proper investments where investments need to be made.
Frankly, I drive around, other than the inconvenience that has been bestowed upon those of us who have to drive across 92 for the moment.
Like those of us from Smithville.
Yes, and the far northern parts of Kansas City, Missouri. Yes, indeed. But as I look around, it's hard to complain. I mean, there's a few roads you're driving down, and I can tell you, I've noticed a difference when you drive from Missouri, from across the state line into Iowa on I-29 and I-35. Mm-hmm. Both places, I have noticed a difference. There's a difference once you get over that state line, that it's not, and I don't mean just on the interstate. I'm talking about other roads, and I honestly, I look around in Missouri and I think, okay, well then, whatever they're doing it right. They're managing that reducing number of funds, as you've indicated, quite well.
Yeah, and even with the increase, it's still going to be less than what Iowa charges at the pump. It's going to be even with what Nebraska charges. It's going to be a couple cents more than what Kansas is charging, but they're already talking about raising theirs as well. But this was also going to be probably the last time we ever talk about raising the gas tax, because with electric cars more
ever. I'm gonna write that down.
I do not think we will ever. I do not think the state of Missouri will ever increase the gas tax again because we're going because the hybrids, because of electric vehicles. We've got to come up with a different way of funding our roads and bridges than fuel tax.
I don't get this honestly, because this electric car thing is all well and good, but there's 9 questions I have. So the number of electric vehicles that are on the road right now is minimal. And so the number of places where you can plug in your electric car when you're on the road is minimal. But where are we going to put all those things?
Plus, you have to have a really long extension cord to drive to Colorado.
Here's the thing. When you fill up with gas, it takes you 10 minutes if you're really slow and you get a Snickers bar or something like that, or you take a canoe to the bathroom with you. But it takes longer. Well, when they put the key and they attach it to a canoe. But so.
Yes, I do know.
Yeah, I've lost my whole. So, yeah, thank you. I haven't heard that in a while. It takes longer to power up your car with electricity than it does to get. So I can't imagine cars parked for miles doing that. Number 2, the people who are like, well, I save money when they plug their car into their house. Number 1, what happens when your power goes out? But number 2, have you ever seen a look at people's faces when they get their first air conditioning bill of the year, which is going to happen here in about a week? They freak out. They freak out. If you plug your car in every day, what do you think is going to happen? Your bill's going to go sky high. So and how do we get electricity? I'm curious. Anybody know that?
Down here, it's generally cold on my tan.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't understand large scale how it's going to work. It works when like 3% of the people are doing it. I just don't. I know I'm an idiot, so don't say But I just. It's like we haven't really thought this thing through.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you're seeing some of that right now because of part shortages as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's slowing some of the assembly down. But what we're hearing from Detroit is that they're going to have by 2030, 25% of all new cars are going to be electric. GM's going fully electric here shortly.
Ford has a new truck out. Did you see that? Mm-hmm. It's called. And listen, I'm old enough to remember the real Maverick. They're calling this truck the Maverick. And anybody who drove a Maverick back in the 70s. That's an unfortunate name because I just don't think those were great cars.
I was driving a Gremlin,
and I've driven some Fords and I've had an F-150, and I'm telling you, there's some good Fords out there. But that Maverick, I thought, why did they choose that name? I guess I'm not in the demographic.
Yeah, I couldn't. My first car was a Chevy Nova, which again in Spanish is no go. So.
Yeah. But some of those Novas were really nice. I mean, they were cool. I mean, if you
big 327 engines in them, they were.
I'm not going to say.
Yeah, you could soup them up.
But serious words are hard for me. Seriously, where are all these people? If you're on a road trip, where are you going to power up your car?
Well, and
how do you do that?
Sure, the battery technology is progressing pretty rapidly at this point. That you can make a whole trip from Kansas City to Denver without it needing a charge now in some of these new Teslas.
So I was at a hotel the other day, and they had 2 little electric plug your car in thing. Are we going to get to a point where like every parking space has an outlet and you plug into it? I mean, I don't know. That's a serious question. I don't know how this is going to work.
Again, building out that electric infrastructure to handle that with cars, finding a way to, because at some point these businesses are not going to, be the payers for at some point as well. So finding some way to either swipe a credit card or something.
I'll use the hotel as an example. When you plug in, they're going to bill you for your electric. They're not going to let you do it for free. They're not going to power a whole parking lot full of cars.
Exactly. So, and we've got to start. That was one of the other parts of Senate Bill 262 was it was going to form a task force to actually tackle some of these electric vehicle issues that you're pointing out. That we need to start addressing and figuring out how we're going to move forward on this because it's coming. We got to get ready for it.
Hy-Vee had it.
I'm sorry, Mike.
I was just
going
going
to say,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything else. I'm sure the technology is advancing.
Yeah.
And there's things. I mean, when people told me years ago, and this is a long time ago, when I was younger than you are, the people said, you're going to talk on the phone on a video and you'll look at, but then we pictured ourselves, because at that time the phones were tethered to a wall. So you're like, why do I want to stand there in front of a wall and talk to somebody? You had never dreamed that you would be walking around with one of these and that's how you would do it. So I'm sure there's things of the electric car that I don't understand because I am not a smart man.
Well, I was going to mention, Jim, that Hy-Vee has, I've noticed they've filled their parking lot on both ends on the one over on Berry Road, I'll say, with the little charge stations. And they're often full. I mean, they're... All of the little stations are filled up at different parts of the day.
Well, and think back. I mean, now if you go into an airport, they are just lined with charging stations for phones.
Absolutely.
20 years ago, if you were from 20 years ago and you plopped into an airport today, you'd be like, what in the world? What is that? And people are mad if they can't find one.
Yep.
And I don't mean just little angry. I'm talking like violent over a charging station.
Well, things evolve, and I think that's where we're at, but so I guess this all sort of circles back to roads and bridges and the taxes by which there's got to be a revenue stream to pay for it, right?
Absolutely. So we thought this was a responsible investment in Missouri's future. So I was proud to support the bill and keep Missouri and MoDOT moving forward in our infrastructure needs.
Outstanding. We've got 5 minutes left, and the light just went out. That's really strange. We were just talking about electric cars, and one of our lights just went out.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what happened.
Uh-oh.
Machines are alive.
I know it. I know it's a
We're
little
under attack here at the
scary,
station.
right? Well, Josh Hurlbert has been with us today, and it is always fun to have you here. It's nice to have a Northland, a Kearney, Missouri face in Jefferson City. To really represent the folks here in the Northland, and we appreciate it. I mean, it's very brave of you to say, yeah, I'm going to go do this thing.
Yeah, the whole session was a learning experience.
Yeah.
I mean, my first session down there. I mean, it was kind of funny. I got to spring break, and I thought, I've got 3 bills that I think I can get onto Senate bills as amendments and get passed. Won't have any issues. It'll be a great first session. Well, by the end of session, I have a giant pile of rubble on my desk because there's nothing that got passed or got through. It was a learning experience.
You're an elected official, so it's not as if you can just walk away and say, you know what, I am done with this. These people are cruel. And but you're stuck for a 2-year term?
2-year terms.
Yep. So there you go.
So when do you start campaigning again? Like
Already have.
What do you think he's doing here, Jim?
Well, good point. I digress.
So I did want to mention you are quite the family man, and I saw this on your bio here. Born in Smithville, Missouri, you told us that. You were homeschooled.
I was.
For your primary education, you received a bachelor's in history and geography from Park University. A couple of Park grads sitting right in there with you. Yeah.
Nice.
You guys want to get together and sing the fight song?
I know, right? Exactly. We're the pirates. And I was just going to do the pirate cheer.
Wait a minute. Did Park have a fight song?
That's right. Yeah.
Wasn't a ton of fight there.
No. Very good school, though.
I don't remember that.
Yep, and a cool history too at that school, by the way. And shout out to your wife. Mm-hmm. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so...
if you know what's good for you.
Yeah, get after it, man.
Yeah, my wife, Ashley, she's been working in accounting for 18 years now. And then we have a daughter, Rose, who's 5. She's our fighter. She was born with a heart defect, so she's had a couple open heart surgeries and before she was a year old that way. So she's our fighter, our heart warrior that way. And then JJ turns 3 next week, and he is... full of spunk.
I can imagine.
So he's awesome. I love him. And then we actually have another one on the way in December.
Oh, congratulations.
So,
yeah.
So, yeah. we will officially be outnumbered. So I don't know. And then the next week I got to go down to Jeff City again.
Yeah,
So sorry, Ashley.
So
a child revolt.
How many is that total?
That'll be 3 for us.
Okay, well, 2 more, and you can put together a basketball team. And be good to go there. So what's your anniversary date?
October 13th.
I saw what you were doing there, Jim.
Do you like the way he thought for a second?
Yeah.
It's, that would be, let me think, carry the one.
Right, exactly.
By the way, June 23rd.
Well done, Jim.
I just want to.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate it. And thank you to Gunnar Trammell for sitting in here with us. He is our intern.
Did you notice how he broke his chair just a second ago?
He did. No. Well, that must have been why the light went off.
Yeah, he didn't think I noticed it,
I don't
but he
know.
was sitting up here, and then all of a sudden he goes.
Well, that happens to me as well. Next week, we've got Randy Pogue. Don't you miss it. This will be fun. Now, this will be after...
Yeah, after the splash pad, which is this Friday at 9:30.
So stand by for a splash video. This is going to be fun.
Be some video of that.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. We'll see you all over there at the splash pad. The ribbon cutting, I guess, as it were, right? Is that what we're calling it? Yeah, everybody's going to be there. 9:30, 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. on Friday. Get over there at 9 o'clock so you got a parking place. You get someplace where you can see the action.
Yeah.
Right.
That's absolutely correct.
It's going to be fun. Don't miss it. Thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you next week on Kearney Live.